Good morning. Now, when I say idiot's guide, I mean I'm an idiot for this undertaking. I wasn't properly prepared to take on this acid staining because I'd never done anything like this before. So I'm going to give you some tips so that if you're trying to make a decision about the best flooring, you are properly informed. The first thing you're going to want to do is look under the mounds of carpet or possible laminate that's in the house and see what's actually underneath of it. In my case, there was all these tiles. So sometimes there was layers that had to be removed before you could even get to the cement. Now this means you may have many hours before you even get to the sanding part. In the acid etching and acid staining concrete, they always say to go ahead and prep your concrete floor. What they don't explain is the actual process it takes to get your floor prepped. This is after already 2 levels of using the floor maintainer. We still have 1 more to go with the sanding. So what I would recommend is if you do decide to go through all the effort of removing all that flooring, you should expect to have several more days, at least 3, to get your floor to the right level. Underneath the carpet and tiles, we found this glue. It's tarry, it's messy, it doesn't want to come up. So for the level 1, the diamond head scraper on the floor maintainer, you should expect if you have this to be spending a good deal of time. Our remedy is we got a hand grinder to try to get the edges, because something that they also don't mention is the floor maintainer is rather large and doesn't get in the corners. Another problem that we ran into was in the bathrooms. The paper had become caked underneath the laminate flooring. What we had to do, because it also occurred over here, was to use Goof Off and then scrape it by hand before we could sand it. What you see along the edges there is red paint that was underneath all the laminate. So several things you're going to need that aren't mentioned is I would suggest a hand grinder, floor scrapers, which I have some over here, especially to get in those corners. Here's a hand one, and I really recommend getting the full length one as well to be able to get a good angle for getting underneath the laminate. Also, it's going to make a mess. We recommend that you use for the first level of grinding a wet grind where you're going to put down water. It does make a slurry and sprays all over the walls. Here, let me take you over here. So it looks kind of like that. During the grinding process, you do need to have a shop vac, a mop, and a second person during that process. So here are some of the things you're going to need for your floor staining that you probably didn't think of. Like you need a crowbar if there's tiles underneath of it, and a hammer to break them up. I have a big thing of Goof Off that I had to get. Also, with the floor stain, you're going to have to get sprayers. These sprayers are also good for putting water on the floor to get up the paper and some of the glue. So just as an FYI, for people like myself, this was the first time doing a renovation by myself. It's a lot more intensive and difficult than anticipated. And you should be able to live without that space for at least a week if you want to do the floor staining. That's all I have to contribute for now, and I will try to post a video later of the finished product. So here we are again, pile of stuff, and over 2 days of floor maintainer scraping. Also recommend that you have someone rather tall and strong to run that floor maintainer. It is very difficult. You are going to wind up bruised, and for some people they can't do it at all. So keep these things in mind, because there's always a little asterisk when they say prepare the floor. Now you know.